Hi guys, today we're going to read The Frog Prince. Has anybody ever heard this story before? What do you know about the Frog Prince story? What do you think the story is about? Well, listen for vocabulary in the story: temporarily, edge, overjoyed, stern, implored, or reluctant. All right, let's read our story. The Frog Prince. One afternoon, a young princess put on her cape, picked her favorite toy, a golden ball, and went outside to play. The sun was bright and the sky was clear blue. The princess tossed her ball high into the air, but missed catching it because the bright sun got in her eyes and temporarily blinded her. The golden ball landed right in the middle of the pond, and instead of floating, it sank to the bottom, and the princess began to cry. A friendly frog came out of the water and inquired, "Princess, what is the matter? Why are you weeping?" Now the princess, who was a little spoiled and a little selfish, she was an only child, and she didn't know much about being kind to others, especially frogs. "Go away, frog," she sobbed. "I have lost my golden ball in your pond. It is my favorite toy, so I am very sad." The frog looked at the princess and said, "I will get your ball and bring it to you if you will allow me to live in the palace with you." The princess didn't think the frog would ever leave his pond, so she quickly agreed to his request. "Yes," she nodded the princess. "By all means, if you'll bring me my ball, you may come and live in the palace with me." So the frog put his head down and dove under the water. After a little while, he came up with the ball in his mouth. He threw the ball to the edge of the pond. As soon as the young princess saw her ball, she picked it up. She was so overjoyed to have it in her hands again, she didn't even say thank you. She simply ran home as fast as she could. The frog called after her, "Princess, don't forget your promise. Take me with you as you said you would." The princess was so delighted to have her ball back, she never even heard his words. Later that evening, just as the princess sat down to dinner, she heard a strange noise. Tap, splat, tap, splat. Something strange was approaching the back door. She heard a knock on the palace door. Then a croaking voice called out, "Princess, princess, open the door. Remember your promise. I implore you, I implore. I'll home in exchange for your golden ball. You gave your word. You must recall." The princess ran to the door and opened it. There was a helpful frog. Seeing the frog on the doorstep frightened her. She shut the door and ran back to the dinner table. Her father, seeing that she was frightened, asked her what was troubling her. "There is a talking frog at the door," she said. "He retrieved my ball from the pond this morning. I told him that he could live here with me in exchange for his service. I didn't think that he would leave the pond. What shall I do?" Then a croaking voice called out, "Princess, princess, open the door. Remember your promise, I implore. A home in exchange for your golden ball. You gave your word, you must recall." The king said sternly to his daughter, "You have given your word, you must keep it. Let him in." The princess opened the door and the frog hopped in the room. Tip, splat, tap, splat, splat, right up to the dinner table. "I'm hungry," declared Frog. The princess lifted the frog to the dinner table and allowed him to eat from her plate. When he had eaten as much as he could, he said, "Now I'm tired. Please carry me to your bed." The princess was reluctant, but she did as the frog asked. She placed him down upon a pillow where he slept all night long. When the morning came, the frog jumped up without a goodbye and hopped downstairs and went out of the house. The princess thought he was gone for good, but she was mistaken. When the night came again, she heard the same tapping on the door. The frog croaked once more. Princess, princess, open the door. Remember your promise, I implore. A home in exchange for your golden ball. You gave your word, you must recall. When the princess opened the door, the frog hopped in and shared her dinner and slept upon her pillow as before. Morning broke, and the frog had disappeared again. On the third night, the frog visited again and did the same. When the princess awoke the following morning, she was astonished. Instead of a frog on her pillow, a handsome little boy stood over her bed, gazing at her with the most beautiful eyes she had ever seen. The boy explained that he was a prince from a neighboring kingdom. A spiteful fairy had changed him into a frog and declared he would remain a frog until a princess would let him eat from her dinner plate and sleep upon her bed 3 nights. You, princess, have broken this cruel spell, and now I owe you a great debt. And the young prince said, You are lonely, and I could come every day to play with you if you'd like. The young princess quickly agreed. She was delighted to finally have a companion. The next day, and every day thereafter, the young prince arrived in his colorful coach with 2 beautiful horses decked with feather plumes and golden harnesses. He was a charming companion and taught the princess much about being kind. In fact, the frog prince and princess became best friends. When they grew up, they married and lived happily ever after. The end.